The Bucks are so relieved right now because their biggest threat in the playoffs just lost a superstar. Ben Simmons will be announced out for the rest of the season, and I'll explain why in this video. But should the Bucks still be worried? I mean, Philly has won 3 of 4 bubble games. They have guys who can step up like Al Horford in the front court, Shake Milton and Alec Burks in the backcourt. In this video, we'll explain what the Sixers' chances are without Ben Simmons. But if everything goes wrong, should they fire Brett Brown or even blow the whole thing up? Hey, it's Casey. Welcome to AMHOOPS. Hit subscribe, notification bells. It really helps out the channel because we're dropping 5 videos per week, Monday through Friday, always at 5 Eastern. Today's sponsor for this video, I'm really excited to tell you about because it's an awesome new app for sports fans. It's called Stadium Live, and it has so much, especially for NBA fans. Mini games, NBA 2K live streams, voting polls, trivia, other sports fans even that you can meet and chat about sports with. And customizable avatars, baby. You can earn coins for answering trivia or winning those mini games, having the hottest sports takes and opinions, that's my favorite, and through the daily vibe check. And with those coins, you can buy even more gear for your avatar. What's really cool is Fantasy Live My Team. Just like daily fantasy, you pick your team to win points and earn coins. The best part is the app is free, and it really helps out the channel if you download it using that first link down below in the description. So the Sixers have no other choice. They're gonna have to find a way to move on without Ben Simmons. Right when this injury happened, we heard, hey, if there's surgery, that's a bad sign. Then 3 days later, he is going in for a scope. Look, the Sixers haven't announced it yet, but unless they make some deep playoff run, Ben Simmons is done. We actually spoke with a doctor about Ben's injury on the AMHOOPS interviews channel, and he said something really interesting.
Patella subluxation is when that kneecap basically slips a little bit out of the groove that it's in on your knee, but it doesn't come out all the way. So like Patrick Mahomes, if you remember when Patrick Mahomes had his kneecap dislocated, you could actually see footage on the field of the trainer popping it back in place. With Simmons, it went back in place on its own. If he goes out and he tries to play and it just doesn't feel right, he certainly is at risk of it subluxating again or even completely dislocating, which would certainly be a whole other set of problems, which would likely shut him down for the year.
Okay, so even if everything goes great from here, he will still be announced as out. The surgery he's having now has to heal, so that's several weeks. Then if he wants to play, he would have to come back and quarantine, then warm back up. That means the Sixers would have to be in the finals, maybe the late conference finals. That's not happening. So not playing is probably the best idea. Dr. Sutterer just said if things go wrong, the entire kneecap could dislocate. There could be even further damage. These bubble playoff games are scheduled every other day. That is way too risky. The best thing is probably just to get ready for training camp, which starts in November, just a few months from now, actually. If you ask Philly, they'll probably tell you, hey, it's just gotta be next man up. That is the worst cliche in sports. I don't care who the next man up is, he is not Ben Simmons. We already mentioned the names. It's like Al Horford, Shake Milton, Alec Burks. None of them can do what Ben Simmons can do. Simmons is a walking triple-double. He is all defense. Outside of shooting threes, he is elite at everything. The Sixers' potential was with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and I really liked Ben at power forward. Brett Brown wanted the ball in his hands when other teams missed and lead the break. He had been off the ball in slower situations, which is perfect because half court was where he struggled. Now we won't see that potential. We'll get to what this means for hashtag fire Brett Brown or hashtag blow up the team, but I do want to back up my earlier statement. Yes, the Sixers were the biggest threat to the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs. Philly's one of the few teams in the East with size that could match up. They have the personnel to guard Giannis one-on-one, which is a huge advantage. And when they're hitting shots, they can beat the Bucks, which they showed on Christmas Day. The Sixers want us to believe that everyone else will have to step up. No one can replace Ben Simmons. And by the way, I cannot believe that these people exist, but some fans actually think these Sixers are better off without Ben Simmons. They say a Joel Embiid-only offense is good. And some numbers actually agree with them. The Sixers are plus 12 points per 100 possessions with just Embiid on the court. That's as good as the Bucks offense. They also say the spacing is better without a guy who says F3s. Well, here's why those people are insane. First off, yes, the offense is decent with just Joel Embiid, but even with improved spacing, it's not like the Sixers have Steph and Clay out there shooting threes. Philly shooters do not scare anyone. Second, no Simmons will really be felt on defense. The Sixers' first-round matchup will be against the Celtics or the Heat, most likely. They're normally a great matchup against Boston, but not anymore without Ben Simmons. He was gonna lock down one of the Celtics' elite wings. Now, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum can just torch Philly. Also, Ben's offense was really valuable when Joel Embiid went to the bench. Now they'll have to rely on an Embiid/Horford offense. I know that's worked in the bubble, kind of, but I think against the Heat or the Celtics in the playoffs is a totally different story. So I think the Sixers will get bounced in the first round, which means that Ben Simmons' season is over. And immediately when that happens, a lot of people will say that they should blow this thing up. They should trade either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. I think that would be a huge mistake. The way you win in this league is with superstars. The way you win big, championships. Rarely do you get two all-stars on the same team. That is what the Sixers have, and they're young enough that they have time to figure it out. I would say trade another high-priced guy on this team, but they can't. No one's gonna trade for Tobias Harris or Al Horford on those contracts. And so when they get bounced in the first round, what they need to do is move on from Elton Brand. The moves he's made so far as GM have been awful. He let Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick go out the door. He paid Al Horford instead, who's 34 years old, a 4-year, $100 million contract when no one else was bidding against him. He also gave Tobias Harris max money, which will tie up their salary cap for years. He's done some things right, like the trade to get Alec Burks this year, or drafting Matisse Thybulle. But overall, I would give him a D as a first-time GM. It is time to move on. Finally, other people will say it is time to fire Brett Brown. They've been saying that for years, actually. But I think they should keep Brett Brown instead. Look, the Sixers are a mess that he's grown up with. He's been there through the process and all the injuries with Embiid and Simmons. They have had kinks this year, but I had a lot of hope with them in this bubble. Brown has shown he is willing to evolve by putting Ben Simmons at power forward. They should let him finish out this experiment. What I can't argue with, though, is the Sixers have been a mess all year. They've had injuries. They had the best home record, but played even worse than the Knicks on the road. The Al Horford fit never worked. Still, I held out hope that things would be different in the bubble. They have a lot of potential with such a talented roster, and they moved Ben Simmons to power forward. So yes, I think the Bucks should be relieved. They will easily cruise right through the East onto the finals, and we will never get to see, sadly, if the Sixers were that surprise bubble team. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.